Well, hi, I'm Brian Guarente. I'm an instructional designer at the COMET program, which is the cooperative, oh God, I gotta remember this, cooperative program for operational meteorologist education and training. Nice mouthful, pretty much means I make online learning for meteorologists, or in this case, actually anyone who wants to learn meteorology. If you need my email address, it's right there. When I highlight it, it looks really, really ugly, so I won't do that again. When I started my path towards meteorology, I was really thinking I wanted to be an architect. And architecture was my life for a while. I really wanted to design really cool outdoor landscapes that I could really share with people. And then along came my guidance counselor in senior year of high school and said, well, an architect needs calculus. And I said, well, okay, if an architect needs calculus, I should really do a lot better in my calculus class. I'm not doing so well, so my guidance counselor said, well, maybe you should do something else. Are you interested in anything? And I said, well, meteorology is interesting to me. Oh, not sharing that.
Oh, okay. That's one we didn't say.
There we go. Okay. Meteorology interests me, so I could probably do that, and my guidance counselor didn't quite understand that meteorology was a little more than just being on TV. And I was good at physics and math. Aside from the calculus, I was a little scared of that. They thought TV. I thought maybe NWS, maybe storm chasing, or some sort of research involving convective weather, and yeah, definitely tornadoes. Tornadoes were on my mind quite a lot. Loved it. Wanted to become a storm chaser, even though it's not actually a career. Definitely what I wanted to do. Went to University of Northern Colorado to do my undergraduate in meteorology. Graduated there, had done some storm chasing, was highly excited by that. Some of the pictures in this presentation are mine from storm chasing. After graduation, I ended up at the University of Illinois, where I did my grad work in atmospheric science and did a lot of teaching. I did 7 semesters of being a teaching assistant and met 2 really important people in my life. One being Donna Charlevoix, who works here at Globe, and the other being my wife, Andrea. It wasn't my wife at the time, but we spent a ton of time, the 3 of us, talking about learning, talking about teaching, talking about learning about learning. It was where I really decided that teaching was for me, not necessarily going to research or being a professor. Being a professor to me had a lot more of the do lots of research and then eventually get around to doing some teaching. And so it wasn't exactly my idea of a good time. So after spending a lot of time teaching in these lab courses of undergraduate non-majors, I decided that it was probably a good idea to do some sort of instructional design. My wife and I married, had a kid, left the University of Illinois to come here to the COMET program here in Boulder, and 3.5 years later, this is where we are with a 4-year-old in tow. Now, as an instructional designer at COMET, what do I do? That's such an interesting question to answer. What I do is I develop hopefully valuable online learning experiences using HTML5, Flash, Photoshop, Google Earth, Google Docs, what else is on my list? And a bunch of JavaScript and making actually videos. This here is a picture of me making one of the videos that I just made as of this week. It's all paper cutouts, and if you need to go look at something that's similar, you can check out the Google Docs in plain English YouTube video. It's really good. Google Docs in plain English. It is where we got the idea to do it this way. And we think it's a really effective way for teaching and getting across some of the very simple points that we have. I work at Comet again. Here's the Comet website. And we are the Cooperative Program for Operational Meteorologist Education and Training. We are funded mainly by the NWS, also by the Meteorological Service of Canada, some Navy funding. Who else is involved with us? Let me try to think. The European Union Meteorological and Satellite Organization. Let me see if I have this on my list. What else do I have? The Bureau of Meteorology of Australia. And we've got some other, here and there, little bits of funding. We do tons of training, all online in multiple forms, from print versions, which you can just go and print out. It's text and images, all the way up to full-fledged videos with audio and animations and flash objects and interaction with all sorts of questions in our presentations. It's really intense in some of them when you get up to the media level. To make a module that's 1 hour long, it might take us 6 months. But that aside, we try to cover everything from meteorology, hydrometeorology, climatology, oceanography, and even space weather at times. So we go from north to south. We go Antarctica to the Arctic. We go east to west. We have some, let's see, where is it? We have Western Pacific modules all the way around through Europe and all the way to the US. We have top to bottom. We go everything from Aurora Borealis all the way down to the bottom of the ocean doing ocean acoustics. And we go from public all the way to researchers. So we have modules like Hurricane Strike, which is meant for middle school children, to middle school kids, children, I don't even know what to call them, sorry. Middle schoolers all the way up to going to researchers doing things like explaining model ensembles for forecasting. Let me pull up, whoa, that didn't do what I wanted it to. That one? Let me pull up. Here is MedEd, which is where we host all of our training. That Comet puts together all of it's put on this website called MedEd. It's meded.ucar.edu. If you haven't been there before, please check it out. It's really worth your time. We have plenty of online learning modules, is what we call them. We call them modules and courses. If you click on the Education and Training tab here, it gets you to a full list of our modules. You can sort them by topics. You can sort them by languages. We often have English and Spanish. As you can see, we also have some French for anything that we make for Meteorological Service of Canada. We have some Indonesian. I don't even know what module it is. We have some Portuguese, some Russian, and Spanish. You can organize these by the dates that they were published, A to Z by title, and skill level, easy to hard. Our skill levels go from 0 to 3, 0 being non-scientist, 1 being basic, 2 being an intermediate level, and then 3 being a rather advanced, typically including full equations and talking about some of the science behind it in terms of the calculus, the math. We also have full-fledged courses, which are conglomerations of all our modules to make a full course, so you could learn about, in this case, fire weather here. And this is specifically for firefighters in this case. There's a whole long list. Take a look through them if you get a chance. Other things that might be good for educators here is the MedEd Educators Portal. It's one of the largest user communities on MedEd, and it's really good for finding some of the K through 12 resources that we have. Let's see. If I still have some time, I can go into a few of these modules. Let's see which to start with. Hurricane Strike was our first full-fledged Flash module. In this module, pull this guy over in front of you. It goes through a long module that is presented to a middle schooler in the hopes that the middle schooler will end up talking to their parents about hurricane safety. It's a really fun experiment to go through with some of these middle schoolers. As introductions, it's fully narrated, interactive. You can click on different things. There's different questions like, what would I include in my hurricane preparedness kit? You end up following this family here through an experience where they actually have encounter a hurricane in their community. Close this guy out. Similar in style is Tsunami Strike, which was just released a few weeks ago. It's pretty much the same kind of idea that Hurricane Strike was, but for tsunamis. And this one is the Pacific edition. We will be making an Atlantic edition sometime in the near future. It might be called a Caribbean edition, but we'll be making one in the near future. Same kind of thing. Leads a middle schooler through a scenario, and hopefully that will lead to the middle schooler talking to the parents, the family, about being prepared for tsunamis. Other modules of interest might be GOES-R, Benefits of Next Generation Environmental Monitoring. This one was going from the public all the way through a researcher, all in the same module, in an attempt to give individuals information about the future satellite, the GOES-R satellite. It's a geostationary satellite that's going to be launched in 2015 is what it looks like. So a little ways out, but this is a preparation for showing you what is possible. In here in the environmental monitoring section, it talks about all of these different phenomena and how the GOES-R satellite will help in monitoring that situation. Antarctica is another one of these fully media-intensive modules. The beginning is the introduction, which is really good for anyone in the public to talk about the problems that we encounter in Antarctica for forecasting. The rest of it gets a little more involved, talking about actually making forecasts, so maybe a little above the K through 12. But the beginning overview is a fun one to look at. And I also have, you can watch it, but you won't be able to hear it, the NWP training that I've been making, the numerical weather prediction training with all the paper cutouts. Kind of a fun little thing to watch. It's not available online yet for anyone to watch, but fun for me to present. I really enjoyed that as an instructional designer. That was a really fun experience, completely different from what we normally do at Comet. Let me see, what else should I mention? On NetEd, we do have a Facebook page. If you want to follow us on Facebook, you can join us there. We like to post announcements there. We like to just keep you up to date on some of the interesting things that are going on. Like just 2 days ago, one of the satellite instruments used to collect sea ice data failed. The whole satellite is going to just be not disassembled. It's going to be turned off. So we won't get data from it anymore. Really interesting to think about when you think about all of this information is going into our computer models, which helps us forecast for sea ice, for instance. So we may be losing a lot of data. Continuity becomes really kind of a scary topic to get into. But you can check us out on NetEd. You can check us out on Facebook. And I guess that's all I wanted to present for now. I've got a few questions that were asked via the board, and I wanted to touch on two of them, or at least two of the people who asked questions. Christina Hyde, if you're out there, your question about RH mixing ratio and saturation mixing ratio and latent heat and all that stuff, I'll email you an answer to that one, or actually I'll email it probably to Julie and she'll be able to post it to the board. It's kind of out of the way of this this presentation, so I'll get to that in an email, and I'll definitely get back to you. Jennifer Taylor, you asked, does Comet have any apps for iPads? And at the moment, we are not HTML5 compliant, I guess is the best word, but we will be soon enough. I'm not exactly sure when that's going to happen, but it will happen sometime in the near future. At the moment, we try to offer all videos that we make in both Swift form, which is not playable on an iPad, as well as MP4 form. So you can download that typically in some of our modules and play that on your iPad. So you still have that possibility. If your question is specifically about apps, we have none at the time. We're not really in the business of making apps. Marcy Burns, you asked about, your students were asking, how many years did I spend in college? In undergrad, I spent 3.5 years. In grad school, I spent 3.5 years. So there's 7 years of my life down the drain. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. What made math so scary in school for me? Calculus scared me like crazy. Not like your fifth graders are doing calculus, but calculus was definitely the scariest thing. But math, I remember when I got to geometry and eventually algebra, I was always afraid of graphing. I didn't have someone who taught me exactly how to graph something properly and how to understand the slope. And that scared me for years. I don't have any idea how I got over it. But eventually someone explained it to me in a different way. And by asking a lot of questions and finding those people who might try to help me learn it in a way that's useful for me really helped me. So if you're looking for people who, or if you have problems with something like that, ask around. Ask anyone you can about whatever your problem is. For me, it was graphing. And just please ask, because people are always willing to talk to you. And that should help, I hope. What's my favorite science tool and why? Maybe I don't know what a science tool is. If you mean like measurement tool, I'm definitely a fan of mobile mesonets, which is, let me go back and show you that slide. This here on top of the car that I was driving while storm chasing, that's all the measurements that a meteorologist really wants from the ground: wind, dew point, temperature, pressure. I guess that's it. Those were all on top of this car. Wherever we went, we had a computer inside of the car that showed us the data real time, on the fly. Really made it a great storm chasing tool. I am not a storm chaser, to answer the next question. I'm not really a storm chaser for the purpose of just going out and seeing it and making TV series about it. I did happen to go to school with one of the people from Storm Chasers, and I've chased with them before, but I don't like to freely admit that. I go out collecting data like this for the purpose of learning about all the different structures of storms and trying to help figure out how they form, how tornadoes form, the environments around those thunderstorms. Julie, are there any other questions floating around? I haven't been watching the chat or anything. If there are any other questions, I'm willing to answer those either now or via this email address. Send them to Julie. Excuse me. Yeah, I think that's all I have for now. Richard, it looks like you have a question. I can probably answer that via email.